Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's weekend reflections on this Saturday, the 14th of September 2024. Today, I would like to share with you a wonderful story that I found in this book, a seerah, a biography of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, by Hajjah Amina Adil, published in, I think, 2002. And the story I want to read is about the Prophet and the deer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Prophet ﷺ and the deer. Once the Holy Prophet ﷺ was out in the desert when he heard a loud cry, "Stop, O Prophet of Allah!" He followed the direction of the voice and came across an Arab fast asleep, while the doe he had caught was tied up beside him. The Holy Prophet ﷺ realized that it was the animal's voice that he had heard calling out to him. He approached it and asked, "What is with you? What is your need?" The deer answered, "O Prophet of Allah, I have left two of my young behind on yonder mountain, who are still too small to know which grasses to feed on. They are dependent on my milk. Please let me go so that I may nurse them and tell them what has happened to me. Let me take them to the pasture and show them what grass is to eat, so that they might not perish when I'm gone. I will be back after 5 hours have passed." The Holy Prophet ﷺ replied, "Will you keep your word? What if you don't show up?" The deer said, "Then let the punishment of the traitor come upon me." Just at that very moment, the sleeping Bedouin awoke. He had heard the conversation of the deer with the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and now he asked, "Have you ever heard of a wild animal that came back once it was set free?" "This one will come, inshallah," answered the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Then smiled and asked, "And if he does come back, will you accept Islam?" "Yes, I will," said the Bedouin. So they set the deer free, and it ran off. After only 4 hours had passed, the deer returned. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, asked it, "You promised to return after 5 hours, but only 4 have passed. How is that, O Holy Prophet?" "Oh, sorry. O Holy Prophet," said the deer, "I went to find my fawns, and I told them of what had happened to me. They drank, but then withdrew, so that you might not remain waiting in a tight situation. They said, 'Go back to him an hour ahead of time, so that this Bedouin in his ignorance might not speak untoward words against him.' That is how I arrived an hour ahead of time." Hearing these words, the Bedouin embraced Islam and set the deer free. And this is a wonderful account of the Holy Prophet ﷺ and his kindness towards animals. This deer called out to him, and he didn't firstly, I mean, it's amazing. This is something the prophets, they could hear the animals. They could hear the animals when the animals spoke. They could understand them. Whereas today we are unaware, most of us anyway, are unaware when an animal calls out to us. Unless we have pets. Some people who have pets, they have some idea of what their dog or their cat wants when it calls out to them, or if they have another kind of pet maybe. But generally speaking, people today are not aware when animals call out to them. We do not understand the language of animals, or the languages of animals. You know, each species must have its own. But the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, could understand this. Like King Solomon, alayhi salam, there's many accounts in the Quran and other sources of King Solomon conversing with animals. And he didn't think that this is just a deer and ignore the deer. He actually went to the deer and asked what the problem was. And when he saw the deer was tied up, he freed the deer. But there's this account of, well, what if I free you and the Bedouin wakes up, then maybe he'll want to kill me, because I basically stolen his food. And he made an agreement with the deer. And the deer said that the deer would be gone for 5 hours, but returned in 4. You see, even the respect and love that even animals have for the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu. He didn't want the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu to even be spoken badly of by the Bedouin, or to be verbally abused, or anything like that, let alone anything worse. So this mother deer, she came back, and she came back an hour ahead of when she promised, even though she left her fawns, her vulnerable fawns, alone. And the Bedouin was so surprised at this, because this is such an unusual and remarkable thing, that Bedouin embraced Islam. And not only did he embrace Islam, he freed the deer. So you see, the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu also ensured the freedom of that deer. A man came into Islam, came into enlightenment, and a deer was freed from captivity. A deer that would have ended up on a table, and instead could go and care for her fawns. And this shows the kindness and compassion of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, and it really exemplifies his title of Rahmatan lil Alameen, that he was a mercy or a kindness for all of the worlds. I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to speaking to you again on Monday for my usual weekly sohbet. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of God be with you all.